All right, what's up, everybody? Let's get a little bit of light. Today on the live stream, we have Federico. Let's see if I can switch over to this and pop into this room. Federico, can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Let's see if the audio is good. Let me double check this audio real quick so everybody gets good audio. Federico, where am I talking to you today from? Where are you located?
I'm located in Milano, Italy.
Oh, nice.
Sunny
Very cool.
place.
Very cool. It's nice to digitally meet you.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for having me.
So give us a quick update. What is your kind of background, and then what is your current interest in the DeFi and the crypto space?
Sure. So I actually come from management consulting. I'm actually an engineer by training, but been working a number of years in management consulting. After that, I left to build a company in the software space, different space than crypto, more business development for businesses. And we exited that business a couple of months ago. So now we are in myself and also I'm joined by my former co-founder. We are sort of experimenting, exploring this new exciting space of crypto, more specifically DeFi, that is coming up. So that's what we've been up to. Within our experimentation, we've been working on a couple of sort of calculators for protocols in the exchange and the lending, namely Uniswap and Compound. So that's what the couple of product we've been launching, and and they're growing really nicely, and we're thinking about sort of next steps and opportunities in the space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So on the screen here, I have CompoundROI.com, Compound ROI, and I'm checking out all the different kind of potential opportunities with APRs of 16 or 27%. Lots of kind of creative stuff, and you actually have what I like is you have some info. They're not loading up for me now. I think they've loaded up in the past. But the next to the different leverage, ROI, and equivalent APR, you had some information on how this potentially works. And then when I click on the market sentiment, I get some information there. You can do some quizzes. And let's see, the Uniswap ROI, find the best pools. So this actually, the tooltips kind of work. I like the fact you have tooltips on the site to kind of help people better understand. Yeah, so I've been very impressed with just the data that you've been putting out, and kind of trying to work to make it easier for people to understand the world of DeFi, and especially from like an investing point of view, where's the best place to invest. I think it's been great getting a chance to see your sites, and I've been talking to DGen Sparta on Twitter about this, or Casper. He's kind of mentioned these sites as well. So some of us have been chatting about this. So great work on getting these all created and up online.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely. I mean, what's going on in DeFi is it's pretty fascinating. From my experience, I mean, I started looking at Uniswap first. Was very impressed about the elegance of the model, how it worked, and the perhaps like one of the gaps that exists in the market today is like we have these protocols that are very elegant, very to some extent very useful. But then how do you communicate the value? How do you explain to, especially like people investing? And so the case of a liquidity provider in Uniswap or just people like locking value in Compound. How do you explain to them the ROI of their investment and also like the underlying cause? Like, what was the actual Mary was actually what was the actual component of the ROI due to, for example, Uniswap? What was the price variation and all the different factors that comes into play? So I feel there is job to be done, something to be done about like communication and making this like more understandable for people as we expand the space.
Yeah, I think you have, especially getting a chance to work in your business development work and then also your engineering work. I think you have the ability to kind of see things from both points of view, from the investor point of view and then also from the engineering point of view, which I think is very valuable in this space. And maybe that's one of the reasons we're on the call today, that you can kind of see things from these different points of views. One of the questions that I ask a lot on these interviews and stuff is kind of an investing question and kind of like a how do you see the market question. And I tweeted about this and had some people respond. The question is, if you wouldn't mind sharing, If you had a friend, maybe a high school buddy or something, that called you or that met you at a bar and was like, hey, listen, I see that the crypto industry and this DeFi industry is growing. I have an extra $1,000 that I want to put into maybe a couple currencies or a couple opportunities, and I'm happy to just leave it there for 5 or 10 years. What would you maybe encourage me to do? I've heard a couple different things. What would you tell your friend in that situation, and what kind of feedback would you give?
Right, so it comes to mind what Nassim Taleb says, like don't tell me what you think, show me your portfolio, and there is whatever Nassim Taleb is great, but no, basically, I mean, in terms of my portfolio, I can tell you what I'm doing personally. So in terms of like storing value, portfolio is pretty much 100% Bitcoin,
Okay.
and with some Ethereum on top of the way I see it is that Bitcoin being the store of value. So the killer use case for Bitcoin has been, and to be honest, I think it's going to continue to be the store of value. And with the caveat that the sustainability caveat. So while, for example, Ethereum has a sustainability path, which is not there yet, but is visible in terms of moving from proof of work to proof of stake. Bitcoin being so much a proof of work base is putting pressure on whatever the natural resources and all the energy consumption. So that's a question mark. How that's gonna end up is not 100% clear. It could be maybe a fork in the future. It could be just continuing like this. So that's a little something looming that I can see on that front, but definitely the store value use case and more of Ethereum Ethereum being a programmable network, that's where the utility is. So and from that standpoint, it could be from just a price standpoint that the model around the Ether raising in prices being so connected with the use of the apps and with DeFi, for example, is even more clear than Bitcoin. So it won't be that Ethereum goes up in price and with utilization, but is more of a functional token to an entire new ecosystem of application to support the new ecosystem of application. So rather than being like really purely store value. So that's I would probably say if the objective is really being exposed to crypto, I would actually say majority in Bitcoin and maybe some residual part on other assets.
So that's a fascinating answer, and for someone who programs in Solidity and has built these great sites, who has engineering background, some engineers and some developers that I talk to are like, yeah, 100% Ethereum. But you're able to kind of put on an investor hat and kind of see it from a store of value point of view, which I think is very nuanced, and I appreciate and I respect that opinion of yours. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, the other thing is also in terms of I've been speaking with quite a few crypto hedge funds. So on their perspective, I mean their perspective is like obviously like as we discussed earlier. Many of them, like maybe not necessarily crypto, but for sure in traditional hedge fund, the asset under management are enormous compared even like to the size of whatever DeFi or crypto per se. But definitely they want to invest in their liquid assets. So definitely they want to invest in top 10, maybe top 20 tokens, and with the majority being exposed to Bitcoin and Ethereum. So their perspective is. From the policy that I got is being exposed to liquid assets and which essentially like encompasses both Bitcoin and Ethereum. What maybe they're a little more skeptical about is being exposed to anything that is not those two.
Yep.
Right. So if you start saying that you could invest in Uniswap, but you need to hold this ERC20 token, they say. Okay, so maybe I don't want to do that, and that's why I think, for example, in CompoundROI, there is a section of which says, what if you want to invest on Uniswap, but you don't want exposure to ERC20, you just want to be exposed to Ethereum. Well, then what you can do, for example, you could say, so I'm gonna put Ethereum, for example, in Compound, And right now, that's not yielding you any interest because it's about zero. The reason, by the way, is zero, and the interest on DAI is so high is that because basically people are betting on the price of Ethereum going up. So they want to go long. They actually want, yeah, they want to short DAI and go long on Ethereum, and that's why the interest rate is like this. If the sentiment changes, you will see the interest rate completely swapped. So maybe 5, 6% or 10% in Ethereum and 0% on DAI. So, but what you could do today, you could actually put Ethereum on Compound and borrow, for example, DAI or another token, and then use that to put in Uniswap. And you can do that, but obviously, like, be careful. And you have, for example, in the side you have a few sliders. So if you want to simulate what if then the prices changes, what happened to my position, because you're essentially, anytime you're taking debt, you're building some sort of margin trading or sort of leverage. So be very careful with that. But either Compound or, for example, putting Ether in Maker and getting DAI, it's a way to capture the fees, for example, in Uniswap without being exposed to ERC20.
That's fascinating. So you get a chance to connect, and you've had friends or contacts in the hedge fund industry.
Yeah, I have a few friends in works in traditional finance, but I've been actually in touch with also with following up the work we did on Uniswap.ROI and CompoundROI. A few people got in touch, and in terms of like more of the crypto hedge funds, and I was like, it's basically an industry I sort of ignored it existed. But actually there are, I think, something like 150, maybe even 200 hedge funds with purely focus on crypto and digital assets globally, and a few based in Switzerland, a few based in whatever in the States. And what they do, I mean, if you're interested to know, like, specifically, actually, what they do is a lot of arbitrage. There's a lot of arbitrage on, for example, stable coins and maybe between exchanges. And so what they are, I mean, they are looking to understand, let's say, what DeFi is definitely very small for them yet to date. But for example, something that they are interested is things like DYDX, right? Or even Compound. The problem with Compound is, like, if you want to do margin trading, it's a lot of cycles of borrowing and lending and borrowing and lending. For example, DYDX essentially repackages Compound or the leverage into a single transaction with a smart contract. So something like that for a crypto hedge funds could enable them to margin trade for something on something like, for example, DAI USDC or things of that nature. So that's where they stand.
Well, it's great getting a chance to talk to you about this and seeing all the work on your site. So I appreciate you just putting this information for free online. And we had talked before the call about the fact that you have more and more people using these sites and participating with them. Did you also want to speak a little bit about your work on OnePay? And I can actually kind of load up the little video here and kind of have it play while you kind of discuss some of your ideas about what you see in the future of actual commerce in regard to crypto.
Yeah, sure. So OnePay is a little experiment that we launched, or actually we are about to launch. But the idea there is that I think the more overarching idea is about the future of crypto, and not the future of crypto necessarily, but the future of DeFi, right? So DeFi right now is this great place of great people and technology and very sophisticated protocols, and definitely is a way for investors and traders to profit from the volatility and the price variation of the asset of crypto. But then, like, the question is, what is going to be the future? Why is this going to be transforming, game changing for the rest of the people which are outside of crypto today? Now, I think the prospects of DeFi are really great when thinking when DeFi could actually touch the realm of traditional banking and finance, which is namely savings, which is payments, and payments could be commerce, could be to be honest also salaries, and then loans, because there's finance and debt and loans are very tightly connected. Today, I mean, Compound is a great implementation of something already, but with this collateral magnitude is very high. And also obviously also investing. But so we've been asking, how can we experiment with some less speculative and more commercial applications? So one pay is essentially is a decentralized version of Stripe. For who is familiar with Stripe, so Stripe processes credit card payments. If you have a business, you accept credit cards between the bank account and Stripe. You're probably looking at maybe 5% fees on your volume, and everything basically it's already doable with a smart contract. The only difference is people will pay in crypto and not paying with a credit card. But as I built this, I was actually pretty surprised about the state of web browsers from smartphone, particularly with Opera. I didn't test it before, but it's actually it's amazing. It's great. So like the same one tap experience you have with Amazon, you can have with Opera. You don't even know you're paying with crypto, and so the state of the project is just like more than anything else is really an experiment. But yeah, definitely very excited to see what how it goes, and also the different pieces. We're experimenting with a bunch of different ideas in the space. So keeping building, and hopefully stay tuned, and you're gonna hear more, and more is coming.
That's great. I have here on the screen the fact that it's faster, it's easier, 10 times cheaper instead of paying 5%, whatever. It's half a percentage point. I got a chance to participate and help out as a volunteer at ETH Denver this year, and it was amazing seeing the work from Austin Griffith and the team working on XDAI with Igor and POA and Maker all working together. And there was, I think, something like $40,000 in transactions or $75,000 in transactions, and the actual cost to be able to purchase that food was $150 or something, instead of being 10 times higher or something. Basically, the credit card transactions by using XDAI was so much lower, and it was just really neat to see that there's a comprehensive Medium post that maybe I can add to this video afterwards, that kind of shows what it's like to actually have a marketplace like that working with crypto, and then the transaction fees are so low. I mean, it's almost like laughably low. It's really pretty impressive to see. So it's cool to see this on your video, and I think it's awesome that you're experimenting with this. I like the fact that you're kind of experimenting, as I mentioned before, with both kind of the user experience and kind of the engineering side of things, and then also looking at it from when you talk to these hedge funds and when you talk to fellow investors and stuff. I think that as we continue to move forward in the space, having that that point of view on the engineering side and also on the investor and the user experience side as well, I think is really important. So let's see.
It's interesting because this is a space where is really a connection between finance and technology, and they're so tightly connected here that is almost like undistinguishable where one ends and the other starts. So yeah, and I would say something to people watching. We're definitely experimenting with products. We're also very keen on experimenting with business models. The team, myself, is to be at the end. We like crypto. We're also very practical people. So really finding ways to make the apps and the space, the development of the space, like sustainable, not necessarily selling tokens, but really finding ways for people to pay for the value they're getting.
Sure.
So if anybody is interested in like joining the conversation around like the business model topic, definitely reach out, and I'll be happy to connect.
That'd be great. And I guess kind of my final question is, where is the best place to reach you? I have your Twitter account right here. Is that the best place for people to reach out?
Yeah, Twitter is great. There's also, on all these websites, there is a link at the bottom of the page to connect. That's sort of direct with me. And but otherwise, like Twitter is great, and it's a good place. Definitely a good place. Yeah. Otherwise, my email is federiconitidi@gmail.com.
Okay, great. I like the fact you have this link right to your Telegram, and it pops right up like. That's kind of a cool thing.
And that's, by the way, that's a great. Something I would actually recommend to anybody building products for DeFi, but maybe crypto in general, because like maybe over the past the sites have been up for maybe 40 days or 50 days. But really, a lot of people have been getting in touch, and so you get the perspective of these investors. Some are whatever, very people just entering the space. Some other are more convinced to completely unbank themselves and say, okay, the dies it is, I'm going to transact only in DAI going forward. But it's great to hear multiple perspectives, also some large holders. So yeah, so I would definitely recommend to do it.
So basically, that Telegram link at the bottom of some of your sites like Uniswap ROI and Compound ROI. So people actually use that. You actually get quite a few messages right through that link.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really smart. Yeah, I really like that. I mean, it's like a direct line right to you, and you can probably respond pretty quickly as well, since Telegram is so easy to use.
Yeah, it's great, and also like basically with this space, it's privacy is so key.
Yeah.
So there's no whatever registration or any email, but the idea of having a Telegram link, which is pretty private, it's compelling for people to ask for questions and getting discussion going. So definitely good.
Well, like I said before, congratulations on all your great work to crank out these sites and to make them just free for everybody to be able to learn more about some of the ROIs. And I'm excited to kind of see the continued development on OnePay. Yeah, this has been a great call, and yeah, I thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Dave. Great being with you. And okay, talk to you soon. And if you guys are keen to connect, like Federico Nitidi at gmail.com or on Twitter at Federico Nitidi.
Sounds great. Good to see you today. Cheers. Ciao.
Good to see you, Dave. Bye.